Will Hernandez is out. Darius Robinson is back. And Monty's free agent mistakes? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Monti Ossenfort's free agent mistakes. Third segment. Darius Robinson. The practice window is open for him to come off IR. Second segment. And Will Hernandez is out for the year. First segment. First, though, I want to be selfish for about a minute and a half or 2 minutes here and give you a little, look into me. This is my 7th anniversary today of hosting Locked On Cardinals. 8th season, 7th year. And for those that don't know how I got this job, I think this is just a little fun here, especially because we're midweek. So I was working Fox Sports 910 in Phoenix. I was producing the morning drive show with Jody Ayler. And, I was just, I'm constantly looking for opportunities. Always. Loyal, but constantly looking for opportunities. And I saw an internship for the Utah Jazz. This was after I was in radio for over 10 years at this point. So an internship for the Utah Jazz, have to move to Utah. I think it's $9 an hour. But I see that David Locke, the play-by-play guy for the Utah Jazz, it was his contact information that was shown on LinkedIn. And I emailed him. I'm like, listen, hey, I'm interested. And he emailed me back. He's like, what are you doing? You're way overqualified. You'll hate this. Like, it's a good thing, but it's an interest for a college person. I'm like, I just knew that you're the play-by-play guy for the Jazz, and I saw your personal email info. So I'm like, well, why not reach out? I love basketball. Basketball is my first love. He said, I've started a podcast platform called Locked On, and this was in 2017, and we need a Cardinals host. And I'm like, never hosted a podcast before. I mean, I've hosted 4-hour radio shows before, but I've never hosted a podcast. Podcast world is very different. And I took it, and the rest is history. It's just wild how things happen. So if you're out there and you want to get into this business, or you want to do something in sports media and you're like, man, it seems like it's impossible to, you never know. You never know what email you send to somebody for a job that you're overqualified for, that you don't necessarily want, but you know that contact is a big player in the media space like David Locke is. Even when he was Utah Jazz play-by-play, he's fantastic. And now we started this platform, and here we are. Always send the email, always reach out, always network, because you never know. And now you're here with me, everydayers. So I thank you. Officially 7 years. Just wild. Will Hernandez out for the year. You could kind of see this was coming after he was bent back against the 49ers 2 days ago. And first of all, one of the unsung heroes of this team, one of the best leaders the Cardinals have, one of the best free agent signings in the last 20 years for this team. Former second-round pick for the Giants. Giants fans, Will Hernandez is garbage. Good luck. He's been the best right guard the Cardinals have had in quite some time. Out for the year, crushing. Evan Brown, left guard, has played pretty well. He's filled that hole that Elijah Wilkinson, et cetera, couldn't do last year. Played pretty well. Yalta Frolt has really helped with that. And then Parrish Johnson Jr. on the left has been great. So now the right side of the offensive line is a problem. I hear Max Garcia's name being thrown around as a potential replacement. But this is bigger. Like, the bigger picture thing here with Will Hernandez out is they're going to have to figure out how to front load maximizing the left side of the offensive line. while opposing defenses are going to know that that's exactly what they're trying to do. And what they were able to do last year was the exact same thing on the right side. The Cardinals, even though the left guard position was a weak spot on the offensive line last year, they were able to run the ball incredibly effectively, especially when Kyler Murray came back. So this isn't like a death sentence for the Cardinals by any stretch. It is a massive loss. He's the hero of this offensive line. Like, Yaldabaoth has been fantastic. Those two guys, those tandem, I mean, incredible. They've been incredible. It was such a low impact signing, both of them initially. And then it's like, oh my, look at what has happened to this offensive line. And Kelvin Beachum looked very good last week. So while Will Hernandez is gone for the year, the Cardinals have the capability to overcome, because one thing that I've always said, and I'm not able to say it now, because the offensive line has been good, great, is the best offensive lineman the Arizona Cardinals have is Kyler Murray's legs. And I said that since he's been drafted, because the offensive line play has been abhorrent more times than not. I mean, save 15 or 16 games from the Rodney Hudson experiment. But besides that, I mean, he's had to be Kyler Murray fleet of foot outside of the pocket. And I think that's where he eats anyway, so it's beneficial. But I wonder how they're going to game plan and scheme around losing Will Hernandez, because I think that it's going to be a rude awakening right away as to how important Will Hernandez is plugging up the right side of the offensive line. So I don't know if this means that there's going to be more rollouts to the left. Kyler Murray loves throwing when going to the left and throwing, whatever he does, his thing, loves rolling out to the left and throwing as he's fading away, whatever it is. So and I'm talking about this with just the avatars of the offensive line for the Arizona Cardinals. Will Hernandez is a human being, and it sucks that he's hurt. It sucks he's out for the year, and it's bad for the team. If you're to choose one side of the offensive line for this to happen to, you would choose the right side. And again, avatar of player, not human being, because people lose sight of that a lot, especially on Twitter, where it's like the things people say about players, it's insane. Human beings, man. Big loss. Overcomable. And what we saw on Sunday was kind of it was like the culmination of the Cardinals season so far. A lot of good, a lot of bad, and still surviving. And still surviving in a respected and above water sense. Where, I mean, I think they're 12th or 13th right now, or 11th or 12th in the NFC. So it's like, listen, there's a lot that is going to happen in the next month. It's not even close. Like I call it like week 12 through, or week 8 through week 12 is like Saturday at the Masters. It's like that's when people start to position themselves for the home stretch. This is still teeing off on Friday. So the Cardinals have positioned themselves well, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. And if they can just figure out how to minimize the downs, and even if the ups come down a little bit, that's fine. It's minimizing the downs that we've seen. And on both sides of the ball. There's been a lot of bad offense. There's been a lot of bad defense in various times throughout the year. So Will Hernandez going down is just something the Arizona Cardinals are going to have to overcome. It's not an original story. Offensive linemen get hurt every week pretty much. How they overcome this and circumvent it, how they scheme the offense around having a downgrade at right guard, it's going to be very telling about Drew Petzing and how Kyler Murray reacts to it and produces from it. With sad comes happy. Darius Robinson is back. We get to see the 27th overall pick, hopefully in action on Sunday. What does it mean? How will it help the defense? We'll discuss it next. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you're placing your bets. So instead of having to have like 8 tabs open from different things, you're Googling stuff, you're like, what's going on here? What's going on here? What's going on here? While you're on the app, it's like, oh no, things are changing. Things are changing. What's going on? One-stop shop, baby. Updates, live play-by-play, right where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is also brought to you by Hillside College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, introduction to free market economics, the great American story, a land of hope, the rise and fall of the Roman Republic, and a brand new documentary-style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced, so you can start whenever and tune in whenever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.com or hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Man, the Will Hernandez story sucks, man. It just sucks. Like, you can tell before jumping to Darius Robinson here, everydayers, you'll know what I'm saying, and I'll explain it. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, first of all, thank you, and let me explain what I mean when I say the Arizona Cardinals used to have very few Arizona Cardinals on the roster, and a lot of that was poor drafting, having to trade away assets to accumulate talent due to poor drafting. I don't know if have I mentioned that yet. Poor drafting. Since like 2018, the true Arizona Cardinals on this roster, Budda Baker, Kyler Murray, obviously DJ Humphries before he was no longer with the team now after sustaining the injury last year. Jalen Thompson, is there. There weren't a whole lot. Guys that were drafted, guys that were ingrained in this institution, and you could, look at as leaders on and off the field, guys that go to battle for this team, where, a lot of people don't want to play for this team or didn't want to play for this team. And then you have guys who I've kind of enshrined into being grandfathered into the you're an Arizona Cardinal. James Conner, immediately. People are going to forget that he played for Pittsburgh. And then you have, Trey McBride, younger. Kazir White is up for conversation. He's up for enshrinement after this season, potentially. And then you have Will Hernandez, who's a guy who has just been he's been outstanding in myriad ways. And he's a guy who is now an Arizona Cardinal. He's a pillar of the offensive line. And it's the play on the field, of course, but he's an absolute demon. That's what Kyler Murray calls guys who are just next level. He is. And he's going to be missed. Darius Robinson. Practice window opened up yesterday, pretty much right after I posted the show. Same with the Will Hernandez news. So, rebirth. Breath of fresh air. And coming off a performance that we saw from the defense last week, 3 turnovers, got in Brock Purdy's kitchen, turned him over twice, 2 interceptions. We're going to find out. Okay, so let's put it this way. So one of the things that I discuss a lot is like in the preseason, you're like, you can see who NFL players are playing against practice squad players. Like, oh, yeah, that's an NFL player. You can just tell the speed's different. Everything's different. Agility, everything's different. I find that we could be seeing something like that with Darius Robinson when he starts to play again. Because if he pops, you're going to find out right away how much better he is than what we've seen from Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, both of whom have been hurt in various ways throughout the last couple of weeks. Over Zaven Collins, who's been okay, but, he deserves the money the contract extension that he got. Like, that's the amount of money that he's played like. If Darius Robinson comes in and is a bull rusher, whether it be on the interior, which he played last year in Missouri, or on the edge, DN, where he played, 2 years ago in Missouri, you're going to see it like, oh, that's an NFL player. That's a true bona fide guy who can eat the quarterback. Like, that's something that the Cardinals have been severely lacking. And with that unlocks a level of talent that the Cardinals haven't been able to unlock yet, because the corners have been kind of hamstrung without a pass rush. So if you can get Darius Robinson, and it's probably going to take a little time, and he hasn't played, he doesn't have his legs under him, game speed, let alone just an NFL game that he hasn't played in yet. If that 0-1 jump happens quickly, we're having different conversations. Isn't it wild how if the Cardinals lost last week, we're having very different conversations, but the Cardinals won, so we get up potentially positive, different conversations than what we've had until this point. It's bonkers. The NFL is insane. What a gift that win was for the Cardinals. And not like they didn't deserve it. But what a gift. Like, everybody who's watching right now, take a second, remember exactly what you thought at halftime, and remember exactly what you thought at the end of the game. That's not supposed to happen. It wasn't. But it did. Through adversity, resiliency, whatever cliche damn word you want to use. And here we are. So with Darius Robinson back, the momentum that the defense is going to be playing with this week. And I know John again doesn't believe in whatever it is. They did all the research with momentum. That Cardinals team that was at Levi Stadium this past week can definitely go to Lambeau and get a win. So if Darius Robinson comes back and he plays on Sunday and he gets 2-3 pressures, you're like, everything changes. It doesn't have to be Aaron Donald sack numbers. It doesn't have to be 21.5 sacks to make an impact. The Cardinals just need a blip of a pass rush. Just something where it's like, okay, for the rest of the season, opposing offenses have to scheme to protect their quarterback from Darius Robinson. That's the leap that if that happens, everything changes on defense. It unlocks a level of talent with Max Melton. Maybe makes Sean Murphy-Bunting's job a little bit easier. Garrett Williams, hopefully he comes back this week and is able to continue his great season. Taylor-Demerson is 2 or 3, 4 good performances from getting a lot more reps, a lot more snaps. And I mean, if Jalen Thompson misses time and Rabbit comes in and outproduces him, we could be looking at a Wally Pipp situation. This is all predicated upon the pass rush, which is predicated upon Darius Robinson coming in and saving the day. And with the blitz packages that Nick Rallis has put together, doesn't matter who it is. It could be Jalen Thompson. It was Jalen Thompson on the interception, that hit Brock Purdy's hand and caused the interception. It doesn't matter what position a player plays on for the Cardinals defense. You're blitzing. Doesn't matter who it is. you are eligible to be a part of a blitz package on any sort of third down, second down, first down, fourth down, doesn't matter. So if you have Darius Robinson come in and he can help this pass rush 30%. It doesn't matter. They need a heartbeat. You need a pulse, because if the Cardinals want to be in contention this year, Darius Robinson needs to produce. Fair? No. Necessary? Yes. And we'll see if it happens. Monti Ossenfort, did he make some free agent mistakes? Because the names that he did sign are either injured or underproducing. I'm not sure it's as big a mistake as people think. And I'll discuss why. That's called a tease, ladies and gentlemen. It's my 7th year anniversary. Come on, I can tease. Next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by the Game Time app. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They've got this all-in pricing option where you have to toggle for it on the app. So toggle all-in pricing, and then you search like normal, and it'll show you the price, fees, everything included right up there. So you don't have to be like, okay, this is this. So like, how much is the tax? How much, everything like that. I have to see that later. You can toggle all-in pricing, and it just shows you it right there. So you don't have to, guess about what the final total is going to be. It's awesome. They have seat views that gives you a panoramic view of your seat before you buy the tickets. So it takes the guesswork out. Like, hey, I want to go to a Suns game. I've never sat in this section in this row. I wonder what the vantage point will be. You can see it on the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Redeem code LOCK or Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code Locked On NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Thank you so much for all who have supported me over these last 8 seasons. Or this is the 8th season. Yeah, it's surreal. It's surreal. Been through a lot of downs, man. Been through a lot of downs, man. My first media credentialed game, week 1, 2018, Washington Commanders, Alex Smith and Adrian Peterson at State Farm Stadium. Sam Bradford, the Arizona Cardinals were on the field for 5 minutes in the first half. I was sitting next to my good friend Bo Brock, former co-host of the show, and yeah, that was how it started. That was how my media credential experience started. It's gotten a lot better since then, but yeah, Bo will be joining me tomorrow. Yeah, I don't know. I got to do my favorite once in a while. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, Monti Ossenfort's mistakes. On the field, yeah, I think he overpaid for Sean Murphy-Bunting, Bilal Nichols, and Justin Jones. And I think that those veteran signings were invaluable for the young players playing those positions. Dante Stills, Max Melton, Garrett Williams. I think it was coaches can only coach so much. Players coach differently on the field a lot of times naturally. And you can see a maturity from the young guys. And that's got to be partially a testament to the veterans that were brought in. And I said, when they started, it's like, okay, well, Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones are rotational pieces. They were never meant to be the stopgap that's going to change the interior of the defensive line. That's Darius Robinson's job. That's why he was drafted. Dante Stills, late round, quote-unquote, flyer last season, was one of the best interior defensive linemen the Cardinals have. He benefited just from veteran presence. Multiple seasons of experience, Super Bowl level seasons of experience that Sean Murphy-Bunting has played in can do nothing but help Max Melton, Starling Thomas, Control Clark, who saw action last week. It can only help. And that, while sure, you want to take the other side, because I'm sure that there will be some. Anybody you bring in as a veteran would kind of add to that. Sure. I agree. I agree with that. The thing with these three players specifically, one, anybody that plays defense opposite Tom Brady, anybody that's won a Super Bowl, it's different. It's different. That's one. Number two, the Bears and the Raiders defensive fronts have been above average for the last handful of seasons. And Bilal Nichols, Justin Jones came from those two organizations. And Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones, when I asked both Locked On hosts, Q and Lauren Cox, what we were getting with these two players, they said rotational pieces, beloved in the locker room. Coaches love them, beloved in the locker room, hard workers, leaders. It's like, say no more. Because during this rebuild, you can't have too many voices that are beloved in the locker room. You can't have enough. This is a complete overhaul. And being able to do it as such, where you have low level, and listen, they didn't spend that much money. It's like you're not giving Sean Murphy-Bunting $25 million a year. Like, it wasn't egregious the amount of, they had money to spend. And remember, there were like 3 elite defensive players on the market this offseason. Okay. So it's not like it was like a renaissance of defensive free agents that the Cardinals could bring in and bolster the defense and be a top 5 defense this year. They weren't there. So why force the issue and overpay somebody? Like, it didn't make any sense. Didn't compute, in my opinion. Bringing guys in, Super Bowl pedigree, even though he's not the best corner at this point. He's got burned multiple times, bad pass interference calls. It's free agent has in that is just invaluable. It's invaluable. And you could say the same for Bilal Nichols and Justin Jones. And I know, like, I'm not romanticizing this. It's something that amid maybe it looking like not the best signings on paper, performance-wise, and it's not. They aren't. I can't help but think that there's nothing negative about bringing guys in like that to help this very young core of position players on defense. I just can't. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Again, from the bottom of my damn heart, thank you so much for everybody who supported over the last 7 years, going on, mid 8th season. Everydayers, thank you. Yeah, this has been a wild ride, and we're not really getting started yet. Great things on the horizon. And remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.